Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I spent years chasing this moment, staying up until 4 a.m., studying for exams, surviving on caffeine and discount noodles, working weekends at a bookstore just to cover basic expenses while my classmates went home to loving families or got monthly allowances. I kept my head down, stuck to the plan, told myself it would all be worth it when I walked across that stage. That this would be the day my family would finally see me. Not just as the other daughter, but as someone who accomplished something. I was wrong. Let me give you some context first, because the damage wasn't sudden. It was years in the making. I, 22 female, am the older daughter in a family that revolved around my younger sister Lena, 19 female. Ever since we were kids, Lena was the golden child. It wasn't just favoritism, it was a complete and utter obsession. She was born 3 years after me, and from the moment she could stand in a tutu, she became the star. Dance classes, pageants, recitals. Meanwhile, I was quiet. I liked books, science, and being left alone. I didn't like performing, and I hated attention. But I was smart, very smart, and I started winning academic awards early. I made it to the state spelling bee in 4th grade. I was the youngest student in my high school's robotics club. I got accepted into an accelerated STEM program in college. And still, I lived in Lena's shadow. If she won 2nd place in a dance competition, we had a family dinner at her favorite restaurant. If I made the dean's list for the 3rd year in a row, my mom would say, "That's nice, but have you seen Lena's new costume?" We spent $300 on rhinestones. Family vacations? Always scheduled around Lena's competitions. Family photos? Always centered around Lena. Even Christmas morning was all about her. She'd get new shoes, new gear, dance gadgets I didn't even know existed. I once got a second-hand sweater and sorry, money was tight this year, as Lena unwrapped a brand new iPad. It wasn't just about stuff. It was about presents. They were there for Lena. Every performance, every competition, every showcase. My mom would be in the front row with a camcorder. My dad would bring flowers. They screamed her name and posted about her all over Facebook. Our little star. When I had a debate tournament in high school and made it to state finals, no one came. When I got my first paid internship in college, I told them during dinner and they barely looked up from their phones. My mom just asked if I'd be home in time to help pick Lena up from her rehearsal. I started to believe I was selfish for wanting recognition, for wanting them to care. I kept telling myself, once I graduate, they'll notice. They'll be proud. The only person who ever treated me like I wasn't invisible was my grandmother. My dad's mom, Nan, was my lifeline. From the time I was little, she saw right through the dynamic and refused to play along. She came to every science fair, every academic event, every award ceremony, even if they were small. She made sure to take photos, to send me handwritten cards, to tell me she was proud. She once showed up to a 10-minute presentation I gave in high school with a bouquet and said, "You don't need a stage to deserve applause." She was the only person in the family who never compared me to Lena. If anything, she protected me from the rest of them. When I got into college, my parents barely acknowledged it. Nan, on the other hand, threw me a tea party in her backyard. She gave me an envelope with $500 and said it was for books and rainy days. Later that year, when my laptop died and my parents said they couldn't afford a new one, she bought me a refurbished one with a note that said, "Go, get that degree." My brilliant girl, I kept all her notes in a shoebox. Still do. Now, fast forward to my final semester. I'd worked my butt off to graduate with honors in biomedical science. I sent my parents the formal graduation invite months in advance. I even reminded them 2 weeks before. My school was doing an in-person ceremony, finally, post-COVID, and each student had a limited number of seats. I reserved 3. One for my mom, one for my dad, and one for Nan, of course. They RSVP'd with, "We'll try to make it if Lena's schedule allows." That should have told me everything. A few days before graduation, I saw Lena post something on Instagram that stopped me cold. She was standing on a cruise ship deck, arms outstretched, sunglasses on, captioned, "Our princess won first place at regionals. Now off to the Caribbean for some much-needed R&R." I stared at that photo for a long time. I hadn't gotten a single message from my parents. No, we're sorry. No, we can't make it. Not even a congratulations. I was devastated, but not surprised. On graduation morning, I put on my gown, fixed my hair, and looked in the mirror trying to swallow the lump in my throat. Everyone else would have families cheering for them, and my most important people not going to be there for me. But then I saw my Nan. She smiled and waved like I was a rock star. The second I saw her, I started crying. Quiet tears. I don't even think I was sad anymore. I was just overwhelmed. That someone showed up for me. That someone still believed in me enough to be there. When they called my name, I walked across that stage, trying to hold my head high. As I stepped down, Nan was suddenly at the bottom of the stairs. She hugged me tight and slipped something into the pocket of my robe. I took it out, and it was a key. She leaned in and whispered, "Welcome home, sweetheart." I blinked, confused. "What?" She pulled back and winked. "We'll talk after. Go celebrate." I sat through the rest of the ceremony with the key clenched in my hand. Later that afternoon, we went to a quiet cafe. She ordered tea and, without ceremony, handed me an envelope. Inside was a deed to a house, a real house, not an apartment, not a studio, a 2-bedroom bungalow just 15 minutes outside the city, paid in full, bought in my name. "I started saving for this years ago," she said. "I knew your parents wouldn't help you get started. I wanted to give you a real beginning, a place of your own, somewhere they can't follow, criticize, or diminish you, somewhere you feel like home." I was stunned. I cried right there in the cafe. People stared. I didn't care. That night, I went back to the family home for the last time. I walked into the house, looked around the room I had shared with Lena for years, the same one filled with her dance trophies and competition posters, and I started packing. My side of the closet was half empty already. My desk was covered in Lena's makeup brushes and a half-eaten granola bar. I took only what I needed: clothes, books, my laptop, a few framed photos of Nan and me. Then I texted my parents, "I'm moving out. Grandma bought me a house. Don't worry, Lena can have my room for her trophies." That's all I said. Not 10 minutes later, the call started. My mom, my dad, Lena, over and over. I didn't answer. Then the voicemail started. Furious ones. "What the hell is going on? You manipulated your grandmother into buying you a house. It's completely unfair that Lena gets nothing and you get a house. You don't even need a house. You're just starting out. Lena's still a student. How could you be so selfish? You will sell that house and split the money with your sister, or we'll take legal action. Your grandmother had no right to do this without telling us." Apparently, Nan also had texted them after the ceremony. She sent them a photo of me holding the key with a caption that said, "Today, my girl graduates. And today she comes home, to a house of her own." It caused a nuclear meltdown. My parents accused her of favoritism, of manipulation, of spoiling me. She told them she was simply correcting years of imbalance, that she wasn't taking my side. She was finally giving me a side to stand on. It's been 6 months since I moved into the house. Nan visits every Sunday. We make lemon bars, drink tea, and work on crossword puzzles. She brought me a garden gnome that looks like Einstein and said, "Every genius needs a mascot." I haven't heard from my parents directly since the night they left those voicemails, though I hear through cousins that they're still furious. Apparently, Lena didn't get the sponsorship she was expecting and is blaming me for it. Am I the a-hole for accepting the house and going no contact with my family, knowing my sister got nothing? Not the a-hole. OP didn't steal a house. She earned a home, not just with her degree, but through every single moment she was ignored, overlooked, and treated like a backup plan in her own family. The fact that OP's parents think Lena deserves half is disgusting. She didn't get nothing. She's gotten everything her whole life. What OP got was justice, and if they can't handle that, let them drown in their entitlement. OP didn't divide the family. The favoritism did. And now let's hear community's opinion. Let me get this straight. Your parents skipped one of the most important milestones of your life to go on a cruise with their favorite child. Didn't bother to send a single text, and now they're furious that your grandmother gave you a house. No, absolutely not. That house is not just a gift. It's a symbol. A declaration that you are no longer the invisible daughter, the fallback plan, the second thought. Your grandmother is a legend. And the fact that she planned this for years tells me she knew exactly what kind of people your parents are. You owe them nothing. They made their choices. Now, they get to live with the consequences. This wasn't just a graduation day. This was your emancipation, your rebirth. Your grandmother handing you that key on stage is one of the most powerful, cinematic acts of love I've ever read on this sub. It wasn't about money. It was about dignity. And your parents' reaction, demanding you sell your home and split it with your golden child sister, shows exactly why you needed to get out. These people treated your success as an inconvenience. They never showed up for you. But she did. Nan showed up for your life, and you should honor that by living it fully, far away from people who only value you when they think you have something to offer their favorite. Your sister didn't get nothing. She's had 19 years of everything: applause, attention, vacations, praise. She's been handed center stage every step of the way. And now, the one time something beautiful is given to you, they demand you cut it in half like it was a birthday cake. Hell no. That house is not just bricks and walls. It's your grandmother saying, you don't have to beg anymore. Your parents can stay mad. Your sister can make passive-aggressive TikToks all day. But you won. You walked off that stage and into a new life, not the a-hole forever. I'm 46 female and have a 24-year-old son. He recently got engaged to his high school sweetheart, Bianca, 23, around 4 months ago. I offered to pay for the wedding, as me and my husband are very secure financially, and we could definitely afford to pay for it. My son said he would cover half the cost, which I'm happy he's offering to pay, but I told him to save that and put it towards their honeymoon instead. The problem starts with Bianca's parents. Both of them are saying they don't need a wedding, and that I should be giving them money instead, because they're about to be kicked out of their rental home. Her parents, I never got along with. Their older son passed in a car crash 7 months ago, and he was the one paying their bills and rent. He left them all his money, which was a fair sum. They barely even grieved him, and just complained about how they wouldn't be able to go on a vacation this year. Either way, Bianca's parents are telling me they need the money, and Bianca would rather than be able to live comfortably than have a wedding. I didn't tell Bianca any of this exchange, and I blocked her parents, who keep making false phone numbers to reach out to me. They never even asked Bianca for money, because she said no every time, and went low contact with them. She's only inviting them to the wedding because my son said it would mean a lot to them, because they always wanted her to be married. Very S and old-time views. They expect her to be a stay-at-home mom, which she won't be unless she changes her mind later on. Their last message is where I got the idea I may be the a-hole. They claimed I baby my son, and if I truly loved him, I wouldn't be forcing him to have a large wedding because of his social anxiety. All my son's life, he has hated crowds, and even ended up in the hospital once. He fainted during a class presentation in college and was rushed there as a precaution. They said if I was a good mother, I would just let them get married in a courtroom or have a small wedding with just me, my husband, them, and some other close family, instead of 100 to 200 people there. Family, extended family, distant relatives, friends, etc. My son says he's scared of the wedding, but he can't wait for it, because he's waited his whole life to see Bianca walk down the aisle for him, and just the thought of her being at his side is enough for him to go through with it. Bianca knows about his anxiety, and even offered to just legally file paperwork for marriage instead of a wedding. But my son wanted her dream of a beautiful wedding to come true, so he's willing to stand by her side during the wedding and say their vows in front of a crowd. Am I the a-hole for not helping Bianca's family and having a small wedding with just family? Not the a-hole. They are doing what they want. It seems like they are happy. As long as your kid wants the wedding, you are good. I'd block Bianca's family and move on. On what planet could you be an a-hole for not giving those leeches money? Wedding or no wedding, they wouldn't be getting your money. Weirdos. Who asked their kids-in-laws for money? The fact that they were more concerned about losing out on vacation than losing their son really says it all. Unless they both have some sort of disabilities preventing them from supporting themselves, they are solely responsible for their own circumstances. Most definitely not the a-hole. All things considered, your son is a saint for still inviting them. I suggest you keep a close eye on them at the wedding, should they try to guilt mooch from the honeymoon fund. I'm 23 female. I'm working at a very stressful job, and I've been financially independent for quite a time. Upon returning to my city, I've realized I can't live with my mom and sister. Constant fights, constant mood swings. My mom would roll her eyes, cause fights if she was unhappy. I couldn't keep living with them and having the stressful job. My mom knew that I'm sleep deprived, yet she would leave her dog in my room in the early a.m. He barks nonstop. They'd fight about anything, like, I don't like mashed potatoes, I won't eat them, and go on. I would order them food almost every day. My mom would go shopping like crazy. I've decided to move out and rent a place. My cash flow has improved significantly since then. It's insane that I'm saving more money renting a place rather than living with them rent-free. My mental health is good. I feel happy. The issue is that my dad, upon divorce, gave them both quite a significant amount of money. But it's been years, and they have spent it all. They do have a luxurious taste. My sister, 21, also has epilepsy along with ED, anorexia nervosa. This makes it difficult for her to work. Now they both don't work. Now I'm getting bombarded by my grandma, who claims that I should move back home and support them fully. They say that the money I spend on rent should cover their food. According to them, I should become the sole provider and live my life helping my mom and sister. I can't live with them. I would lose my mind. I very well told my grandma that she can sell her other apartment and help them financially. I'm being called a terrible person. I can't support them financially, because that will mean I will not be having any savings at all. What do you think? I can either continue living my life or go back to live with them, have zero life and zero savings. I'm exhausted. I've been working hard for so long. I never asked anyone for anything. Not the a-hole. You don't have to sacrifice your life for other people, especially if they don't appreciate it and respect your boundaries. You are not well off enough to support 3 people. Focus on yourself first, and don't feel guilty about it. But in case you do want to support them in some way, maybe offer to pay for therapy. Sounds like they really need it. Not the a-hole. I will not comment on the fights or troublesome account of what life looks like at your mother's place, because that's your side of the story, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be only marginally relevant in your decision. So, 1. They are not in a life or death situation, and they have other options. Either can get a job or your grandparents can sell the second property to help them. 2. You work a very stressful job, and you need space and time to recharge. Your priority should be your mental health, because if you break down, you won't be able to help yourself or them. The way I see it, you owe nothing to your mother and sister, and you shouldn't feel guilt-tripped into assuming responsibility for 2 adults perfectly capable to fend for themselves. Just stick to your guns and protect yourself. Your grandparents can financially support them if they want to. I see no reason your mom can't get a job. Obviously, your sister is a bit different, but depending on her severity, she may be able to work. But otherwise, they need to look into what government assistance is available and learn to live within their means. If you do cave and feel bad and want to contribute something, do not give them cash. Do a shop of staples, things like pasta, rice, potatoes, bread, canned goods, things they can make basic meals from. They won't starve. My 29 male family grew up poor. My dad worked several jobs, and so did our adoptive mom. My adoptive mom, stepmom who adopted us, came from even less. Her dad, our grandfather, died a brutal death by prison guards, and it was tragic. My family sued and won an incredibly large settlement. My mom and dad have regularly asked what they should do with the money. I told my mom she should travel the world, retire, and do the things she has always wanted to do. My dad wants to also buy a house on the countryside where they can quietly retire, and I believe whatever is left should be split down the middle between my sister and I. I'm not wealthy myself, but my partner and I get by. My partner is disabled, and we would benefit from the inheritance in terms of affording things like IVF, a baby, and making that dream come true. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like we really could afford a child like we would want to. My sister disagrees. She believes that since she has kids, and I don't, it should go to her kids. My problem with this is that my sister has struggled all throughout her life with addictions. My parents and I both have bailed her out financially so many times. I've stepped in and raised my nieces and nephews at moments, and have had to pay for school supplies, piano lessons, etc. She has 4 kids and another on the way. And I honestly feel like if I didn't have to step in and parent her kids at an early age myself, I might be able to better afford my own child. Things were civil about these discussions until my sister and her husband keep harassing me and my fiancé, saying that we are selfish, that we are taking their money, and that the money is meant for the kids. My sister even sometimes tells me that my dad plans on just giving all of the money to grandkids. I brought this up with my parents, and they said this wasn't true. That the plan is actually to give my sister's share to her kids and my share to me. I haven't told my sister that I know this. My sister has started telling people in their town that I'm greedy, I hate my family, and that my partner and I don't need the money since we don't have kids. She's even started shaming my partner and the temporary work she has found over the years as a disabled person, and went so far as to say I should have considered money when I chose to get engaged to a disabled woman, and implying my fiancé is lazy. My sister feels as if I shouldn't take half because that leaves smaller shares for her children. Am I the a-hole for standing my ground and asking for my share of the inheritance? Honestly, neither you nor your sister should have any say. If your parents want to give the money to a local donkey sanctuary, that is their right. Inheritance is a nice thing to get, but not a right. Not the a-hole. She had kids. That was her choice. Ask her if you have kids later, will she give some back to you? You should say, actually, I do need the money so we can plan kids, because it would be terribly irresponsible to have kids without the financial means to do so. Say this even if not true. If she couldn't afford kids without the inheritance, she should not have had them. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your sister is a greedy and bitter person, who is apparently bad with money too, and should be happy you two each get a share, not try to harass you and your parents into getting even more. Stand your ground and fulfill your dreams. Her having kids, and a lot of them too, use protection if you can't afford children, when she's not able to provide for them without your help, and then thinking that entitles her to getting even more help without having to do work for it. Sorry, she's the only a-hole in all of this. My daughter is 22 years old, and 3 years ago, she moved to California to attend college with her friends in order to pursue a career in acting. At first, we were hesitant on her moving to another state, since out-of-state tuition can be costly. But we decided that if this is something that she really wants to do, then we'll support her. She being 19 and having no money, we set some conditions for her just to help her out. 1. For the first 2 semesters, we will pay her tuition and housing. 2. During those first 2 semesters, she must find a job and start saving up to start paying for her own housing and tuition. 3. She has to show us her grades at the end of each semester, and as long as she's passing and attending college, we would help her pay half of her tuition cost. Fast forward to now. We found out from our son when he went to give her a surprise visit that she was no longer living at the address. In short, we found out from the school that she hasn't been attending college since December 2021, and that she's been sending us fake grade reports so that she could keep on receiving money from us. She's also been spending that money on going to parties, buying a BMW, and living a lavish lifestyle. After finding this out, we called and confronted her about what we've learned. We essentially told her that she can do whatever she wanted, and we're not going to force her to pay back the money, but we would not be sending her any more money so that she could spend it on going to parties, etc. She got really angry at us and said that we don't love her. We only cared about her other brother and sister. How's she going to pay for her car, and how not sending her money will ruin her financially. Even after the outburst, we were firm on our decision and reminded her that she's an adult now and her actions have consequences. We reminded her on the conditions we set if she wanted to receive money from us. Today, I received messages from some of our relatives and people we've never met on social media that we're being too strict on her and that we're family and we need to help each other. I understand that family needs to help one another, But I also don't want my daughter to think that we're going to be funding a lavish lifestyle that she clearly cannot sustain independently for a long time. We ended up calling her again and suggest she should move back in with us so that she only has her car loan to worry about instead of whatever she's dealing with now. Even after giving her our suggestion, she told us she'd rather us send her money instead. After receiving all those messages, I don't know if we're being too strict on her or not. Wait, she's been using you, lying to you, and taking advantage of you, and you're feeling guilty? You're not the a-hole. Stick to your guns. Not the a-hole. If she wants a lavish lifestyle, she must work for it. The agreement was that she stays in school and does well, not that you'll be funding her life of partying. If she can't afford that lifestyle on her own, then she needs to reconsider it. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry your kid, your adult child, ended up being so manipulative and selfish. But this is a sign for you to stop supporting her financially. She puts so much effort into draining your bank accounts to have fun and ignore every term you set. And it's disgusting to think she could take rich lifestyle money from you and contribute nothing back to her family or her future prospects. To be real, allowing her to move back with you is overly generous and is not making her repay you. Don't let yourself be used like this again. When I, 19 female, was 3 years old, my father cheated on my mother with one of his old high school girlfriends. My mom found out and pulled out divorce papers. My father paid child support, but he was never around growing up. I asked my mom as a little girl who my father was, but she didn't like talking about it, so she told me the story when I was 14. My response to her was that I would never reach out to my father, and that I was perfectly happy having her as my only parent. Now I'm 19. I still don't have the desire to have any relationship with my father. However, my father's brother reached out to me on Instagram after finding my account. He didn't say much, just that he knew how much of a piece of crap his brother is and that he wishes me luck in life. I ended up chatting back and forth with him until we finally met in person. I won't talk about the meeting, but he convinced me that perhaps it's a good idea to meet my younger half-siblings. This would mean meeting my father and his wife, but I decided to do it anyway. My uncle arranges for me to spend spring break over with my father and his family. I arrive at their house. I'm greeted at the door by one of my half-brothers, who takes me inside and guides me to the dining room, where my father and his wife are seated. My father stands up, opening his arms, preparing for a hug. I offer a handshake instead. I sit down and have a conversation with both of them. Before having a serious conversation, they want to wait till the evening when the kids are supposed to go to their friend's house so we could be alone. I agree. Evening rolls around. Father drops the kids off at their friend's house. He comes back and I have dinner with his wife. Lots of things were discussed. They didn't try to whitewash or deny the fact that my dad cheated on my mom with his wife. They admitted it openly. I expected the opposite to happen, but I was proven wrong. Then I talk about myself. Then they about themselves and their kids. Dinner ends. I go up to the guest room they prepared for me. Minutes later, my father's wife comes up and knocks on the door. I tell her to come in. She asks me what I think of everything. Her, their house, her kids. I say that everything is cool, to which she responds with, "Be honest." I said, "Okay, I'm very hurt at the fact that my father treated my mother the way he did because of you. The fact he gave you everything, but barely anything to me or her. I can't really have a negative opinion of her kids." She leaves the room. Later, my father comes up, asks angrily what I told his wife. Apparently, I made her cry. I said what she wanted to hear, my honest thoughts. Somehow, I'm the bad person for it. Anyway, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The truth hurts, but that doesn't mean you should have lied. Not the a-hole. You seem confident and mature enough to cope with all of this. Hopefully it gets better, and if not, at least you know you tried. Good for you. People who don't want honest answers shouldn't ask the questions. You said nothing wrong. Emotions were running high all the way around. Give your dad time to cool down. He likely was fearful the entire time that you would mistreat his wife. You didn't. Not the a-hole.